Please check out our sponsors NordVPN for the best in online security. It's the best VPN on the market, and you can try it risk-free now with a 30-day money-back guarantee by visiting nordvpn.com/heart and hand. That's nordvpn.com/heart and hand, and it's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Hello everyone, and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is David Edgar, and as always, I am your host. This is the last Heart and Hand podcast of 2025. Don't get excited. But yes, this will be the last one of what has not been a particularly pleasant calendar year to be a Rangers supporter. But I am going to make it through this year if it kills me. And joining me to discuss Rangers' victory against Motherwell on Saturday and look ahead to the St Mirren match is James Tessier. Hello, Tess. Did you have a nice Christmas?
I had a very nice Christmas, mate. Yes, it was nice to get up for the Motherwell game and bump into you lot.
Yes.
But I've been feeling rough ever since. Nothing to do with the alcohol, mind. It's that cold and flu that's knocking about, mate. But yes, I've had a very good one so far. Thanks.
Yeah, I love that this time of year. I'm not feeling too great. Were you out last night? Yeah, but it's that cold and flu I had. Okay. The 800 pints that got consumed probably had nothing to do with it. But no, we did meet up, and very pleasant it was too. And Rangers didn't let us down before we had our night out, because Rangers took on Motherwell on Saturday and delivered a 1-0 victory. Now, I did think at the time, Tess, I'm not a neutral, right? And I don't care if Rangers play really boring fixtures so long as we win. But I think had I been at the game, I was saying, this is probably quite a good watch, because it was two teams that went to try and win the game. Rangers obviously have to at home, but you don't always get that from sides in Scotland. But Motherwell are a bit different this year under the new manager, and I have to say, very impressive. And the first 15 minutes, mate, I thought they played us off the park. We couldn't get near them, and they were knocking the ball about. It wasn't, long balls are in your face. They got the ball down, they passed, they moved, and Rangers really struggled. Jack Butland's made 2 saves. In that opening 15 minutes, they were by far the better side. It wasn't even close.
They were very, very impressive, mate. Now, obviously, there is the caveat that we let them play. But from what I've seen of them, mate, they just opened us up at will. It reminded me of the Roma game last month, where when they wanted the ball, they just took it and did what they wanted with it. That first 15 to 20 minutes, it's domestically, I can't remember, certainly at Ibrox, I can't remember that being done to Rangers, certainly not that early in a match. And I think, like I say, I think part of that is we let them play. Part of it is they are a decent outfit. But the more worrying for me is that teams are coming to Ibrox now without any fear.
Yeah, they are, and understandably so. I think that this season being what it's been against the Old Firm, that teams are starting to do that and go, well, why not have a go? I think it also puts into, this thing we hear from managers of smaller size, because Motherwell's budget is very small, right? Even in SPFL terms. That, oh no, we can't play football. We've got to just be aggressive and industrial and agricultural. I don't think it's always true. And I think that Motherwell are showing that at the moment, because I agree with you. I mean, they were the side that have impressed me the most. Even Hearts playing against Rangers, I thought that Motherwell gave us, the toughest game. What they don't have that Hearts have, for example, though, is quality, real quality in the final third. They lost their star man to AFCON. And that's what hurt them. But, Jack Butland bouncing back Tess after a really disappointing performance. He spoke about it afterwards against Hearts. He said it wasn't very pleasant to be around for 48 hours after the game. Neither was I, in all honesty. But he did come back and saved. And then Danny Rule, after the match, said Rangers changed it at that point. He said, we drilled 2 ways of pressing, and we changed after 15 minutes, pushed up. And Rangers did begin to assert some control, but where has been slightly different to other games, Rangers would finish this game with the highest XG of the season for them. And I don't really do a bundle on stats, but you could see Rangers were creating more, forced some really good saves at the Motherwell keeper during this period. again, I just mentioned Motherwell with a lack of quality. I can empathise because that's our issue up front. And again, this was another one of those matches that Hibs was the same. Once we've got the breakthrough goal, we should go and win this game by a few. And it's not like we don't have the opportunities to do that, but it is just this lack of... This Rangers team is not prolific, and I don't see it changing unless we get bodies in who can change that.
I think it's only been the away victory against Kilmarnock where we've really put a team to the sword. And I think a lot of that was Mikey Moore inspired Wonder Show. So it is something that we are seeing quite a bit. I mean, as you say, we aren't neutrals, and we will take any win that we can. And it is your 1-0s and your 2-1s. It is your tight victories because we are so wasteful in front of goal. That's the most chances I've seen us create in a very long time, that game on Saturday. But, as you said, who was going to finish it? Even Miovski, he went through a little bit of a 3-4 game purple patch before he picked up a knock. And he came on and you're thinking, well, even with him, things aren't going to get any better because it seems like his head's dropped again. And he just needs a little bit of a boost again to get him back to where he was only 2 weeks ago. So it's, it is really, really frustrating because we are seeing the same thing all the time. Whereas Motherwell should have been out of sight after 15 minutes, obviously, as the game went on, that wasn't a 1-0 game.
God, no. How it only finished 1-0 is entirely down to the fact that, the players that both sides had up front, because the rest of the sides were actually functioning pretty well. And I want to talk about that. The Saturday night, as I'm sitting after the game, someone in the press room hands me over the phone, says, look at the league table. And I said, yeah, what about it? He said, Rangers are the best defence in the league. I'm like, what? I said, I know, look at it. And we are. We've conceded less goals than everybody else, which I think to Rangers fans more than anybody else initially seems staggering. But then you think about it, 6 clean sheets Danny Rose had since he came in. And it has been conscious. He's spoken about this. I think that it's pretty clear that he looked at the squad and think doesn't have a lot of goals in it. So the first thing I need to do is give us a shape, make us tighter, make us more disciplined. We still have moments of head loss. We still concede stupid goals. The second at Tynecastle, I think, will irritate me till my dying day. But overall, I think what he's done is, right, well, I need to get us in a position where if we only score 1 goal, it'll win us a game, because at the moment, as you say, Tess, we don't look as though we're going to get 3-4 in a match. And I think given the amount of players who've been missing out that defence, I think that it's been a pretty remarkable turnaround. Fernandes is still raw, still decision-making at times, still prone to an error, but you can see him improving. I think it would be churlish to say that he isn't, because I think you can see it. But the guy on Saturday I thought was really impressive again was Dujon Sterling.
I think having Sterling back, I know it's old cliche like a brand new signing, but it is, because if you look at in my opinion, obviously everything is subjective, but our best outfield player this season, I mean, the past few weeks has been barren, but overall this season, our best outfield player has been Tav. And this is a Tav who was 1% the player that he was 2 years ago, let alone 3, and when he was absolutely in his prime. And again, that shows that he's given everything he can give, but it also shows you how poor we are, because he's not been very good, but he's been the best, if that makes sense. Having Sterling back in there, mate, he's coming to it fresh. I think he's absolutely untarnished by everything else that's been going on. And one of the frustrating things about when he did get his injury is he was really starting to show something. And I know it sounds strange because he's still fairly young, but he just seems a very calm head. He doesn't do anything stupid. He seems to know when to put his foot on the ball and slow things down, and sort of that seems to give the people around him a little bit more confidence as well. So having him back is absolutely huge, mate. And as you say, it's how we've managed to get at this stage the best defence in the league. I think you really got to give Danny Rule a pat on the back. What I think the stats will show that since he's come in, we are top of the form table. So it's very clear that he's come in straight away, identified problems, and slowly surely quietly set about sorting them out. And I really do think that bodes well for the future, because as a coach, he can only work with what he's got in front of him. So the formation and the tactics and the way the team is structured is 100% down to him. He can't change anything to do with the personnel yet. And I think that is getting the most out of a very, very limited group of footballers. I really do think that bodes well for the future if we can get it right in January.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be nice. I mean, you think we're due a transfer window where we actually improve the side, and it's a low base this year. So, but we've managed to cock them up spectacularly in the past, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, on that defence thing, Tav again at the weekend was really poor. He's really struggling, and I know that when a player hits a certain age, that they have a dip in form and everybody goes, the legs have gone, right, they're finished. And I know, we've seen ex-players do it as well, so it's a fairly common trope. It's not something that just fans do. But watching him this last few weeks, it does look like he's telling his body to do things and his body just isn't capable of doing it anymore. And, it's a cliche, but it's the one battle no sportsman wins is the one with time.
Yes, mate, he's completely gone, and it's very sad to see. But I still maintain that overall he's been our best outfield player, which goes to show how poor the rest of them have been up until Barron and Sterling the last couple of weeks. What we're getting from Tav in terms of heart, I don't think that's going to change. He will give you everything that he's got to give. It's just a crying shame that he just can't really give us anything useful anymore. It's he should have gone 2 years ago. Let's be right about it. He wasn't great last season. This season, it really is showing. And it seems every player we bring in to replace him, they're just not good enough. I mean, look when they were playing him at right back, look at Aarons. He's come in and done the square root of nothing.
He has. Yeah, Aarons is just a total non-event, and his performance against Hearts I thought was absolutely appalling because he just will not take a man on. He just will not do it. He refuses. He will turn around and pass the ball back constantly, and I'm like, anyone can do that. I could do that. I could run a little bit with the ball, not take the man on, and then turn and pass it to the centre back. So no, you're absolutely right there, which is why I think Suter obviously coming back at the weekend, why I think he goes in and Sterling goes to right back, because I think that is a problem position for us.
I think if that happens though, do we lose something at centre half?
We do, but at the moment I think it would be you gain a lot more at right back. So it's like we're not losing as much from the centre as we're gaining at right back, if that makes sense.
Then just playing devil's advocate though, we've been as solid as we've been at the, and again, it has taken us all by surprise, as solid as we've been at the back, would we not be better off keeping that centre half, partnership, it's three of them, keeping the centre halves as they are, bringing Suter for Tav, because you know that you're still going to have that solid background to build on, and then try to accommodate out. So again, this is probably just me being devil's advocate, but just trying to accommodate something else on the right-hand side. With Sterling, we seem to have stumbled into something that really does work.
I think, long-term, he sees himself as a centre-back. He's spoken about this in the past, and I think we can all see why. He's got an athleticism that none of our other centre-backs have. He's got mobility, and I think he senses danger better than the rest of them do. And I also think Fernandes enjoys playing with him. I think you can see that there's a trust there. He's like, right, okay, so he has that great quality of maybe helping the guy next to him play better. I just think at the moment that we're really short in the right back area. Where we're short, though, as we've talked about, the problem has been, Danny Rose spoke about it, he kept going back to it, we need to score more goals. And he was visibly frustrated after the match because, again, like the Hibs match, that's one that went right to the final whistle. With Motherwell attacking right at the final whistle. And all it takes is, as we know, one error, one ball to drop, somebody to do something, hit a ball perfectly, and boom, 2 points dropped. When the game should have been done. The midfield, I think, lacks creativity. He spoke about how he's happier with it's, winning the ball back quicker now. It's doing those kind of things, and it is. But in terms of creatively, Diamande, people tell me with Diamande, say, but he does a lot of work off the ball. And I know managers like that, but on the ball test at the moment, it's like kicking it off a wall. It just bounces about 4 yards away, and then he's got this thing in him where when he does that, he lunges in, which is why he's had disciplinary problems this season. At the moment, I just really, there's the first place I'd be upgrading.
I struggle to think of one game he's had that you think, yeah. I mean, at least in years gone by, he'd get himself up for the big games. When we played against that lot from the east end of the city, he tended to play all right. And then the bigger games in Europe, he tended to play all right. We've not even had that from him this year. We've had nothing. And for saying he's an international footballer, I mean, okay, he's not been selected for his country for AFCON.
Which is not coincidentally.
No, it isn't, mate, no. But saying he's an international footballer, what the return we've been getting from him is an absolute disgrace. And it's sad that we've got to keep picking him because we've got nobody else who can go in there and do a job. So as you say, you say it's the first place we need to look at, but there's every single area on the park. But yes, so somebody from midfield who is going to provide a genuine goal scoring and creative threat and take a bit of pressure off the forwards that we've got. It's an absolute must, isn't it?
Yeah, and on those forwards, I think we saw it at the weekend. Chermiti had one of those games where he actually did some things really well. He really did. Some of his hold-up play was very good. Some of his link-up play was good. But his finishing is still wild. And I don't know if that's a confidence thing, because as the problem has always been with Chermiti, that we've got no body of evidence to go back and say, well, he's just a bit out of form, he's lacking confidence, whatever, because we don't know. We're pretty much seeing the guy. This is the longest run of first team action he's had in his career so far. And don't get me wrong, I agree with what you said earlier. Miovski came on at weekend, he was hopeless. It's such I said there's a first area to upgrade. I think it's quite clear it's the forward positions. Although I did think Gassama, while he had good moments and bad, he was making things happen. He was a danger, and of course he ends up creating the goal.
He tried and he toiled away, and for once he didn't hide, and he was always showing for the ball. But that quality just isn't there, is it? I mean, that might sound a bit daft, being as he set up the goal. So in essence, he did what he's there to do. But he can't sustain that for 90 minutes. He'll give you that.
I think you have to accept that with him. Whether or not that's something that improves as he gets older, I don't know. But I mean, he does. That horrible old phrase, a moments player. He is that. And the counter to that is, if you're not getting those moments, then you're not getting anything, and which is a legit criticism of him. But no, I agree with you. I thought at the weekend he kept going, he kept working hard, and he creates the goal for Asgard. Nice finish. It was a strange reaction in the ground, because I think everybody just assumed that it would be offside. That's kind of what VAR has done, I think, to this generation. All of us match going attend. I mean, you also support a team in England, Derby County, and you go and see regularly. No VAR in that league. I fucking hate VAR, right? I mean, initially I thought that's a good idea, but they overuse it, and it does now. It has, I think, taken away a lot of the joy as a football fan in the ground. Like the old days, what you used to do is goal went in, quick look at the line. If he's running back, it's a goal. So, for instance, the one that Rangers had ruled out at the weekend, he wasn't running back. So immediately I went, there's a problem with this. Right? Fair enough. I knew. The second one, though, everybody goes, it's in, great. Is it a goal, though? And you just don't get the same rush that you used to get. And I just don't understand. Football has consciously decided to make its product worse for the people who pay to consume it. And I find that really odd, and then never ever consults them to go, do you like this? Do you dislike it? As somebody who watches sides were both, what do you prefer?
I prefer without, mate. I was in Budapest for the Ferencváros game of the week, and I'd been saying long before I went I was more looking forward to seeing the City than the match, and so it came to pass. And the only good part of the match, when we scored, couldn't even celebrate that properly because of VAR, because you knew that obviously the goal ended up getting given, but you knew that they were going to check it. Obviously, when I go to Derby, all the lads who sit round me know that I go up the road quite a bit to follow the Teddies and that. And they asked me about it because, as you say, we haven't got it in the Championship. And they say, well, is it any good? Do you want to see it here? And I say no, because when a goal goes in, you go in berserk, and as you do. And you know it's not going to get called back. This ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. You've got that certainty. Now, whether we score at Hampden or against them, not the way things have gone.
You just expect they'll find a reason.
What do I do? What do I do? And
I don't go as berserk. That's the thing.
Exactly.
I just don't. Even watching games that Rangers aren't involved in, I now instantly sit and wait and go, okay, we've got a couple of minutes here before we know if it's a goal or not. And I don't understand that at all. And look, I admit, when it came, I thought this would be a good thing, help get more decisions right. But they completely overuse it. Yeah. And it's the old thing of clear and obvious. They should be looking at things where you go, here, hang on a minute. So, for instance, actually, I wouldn't have minded them checking that goal in Budapest, because initially I went, Jesus, he's offside, right? So clearly, there's enough debate there. But it's when they go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I get it's the correct decision. Well, mostly that one at Rangers scored against Tynecastle. But I think it loses something. I know it's a wanky term, but the spirit of the game, I just don't think this is in that. And then when they've brought in things as well, like, it's his shoulder that's off. What the what?
If you can't score with your shoulder, then why should it matter if it's offside?
Yeah, exactly. The ball's played across the ground. He didn't score with his shoulder. He scored with his feet. Yeah. I think that they've taken some. They're looking for perfection in an imperfect game, and I don't think you can get it. And I think it's just, as I say, I think it's just, most importantly, I think it's slightly ruining the experience for paying customers.
I'll tell you another thing to watch out for, mate. Obviously, we've got the World Cup in America, haven't we, coming up? Now, you watch every vibrate, that'll become an ad break or this or that. They'll find a way of monetizing it, and then you watch how that follows over into the Premier League and the Champions League, and therefore everything else. The genie ain't going back in the bottle, mate. And it's
you're right. I'm an old man shouting at a cloud here. I understand it. I totally get that, and I'm sure the listeners will tell me in the comments that I am, but yeah, I don't like it. I preferred it the way it was. Things were better back then. It were all field round here, etc. When I was a youngster, but yeah, Rangers in the second half. Now, Tess, this is such a glaring deficiency for us. We had several 4-on-3, 3-on-2, and 1 5-on-1, and we don't score from them. And it's like, lads, come on, we should have beaten Hibs 3-0, right? Not because we dominated the whole 90 minutes before anyone says, but because after scoring the goal, Hibs pushed up and we created so many of these opportunities, we should have rattled in another couple. Saturday, we absolutely should get another couple, and the game's done and we can relax with 10 minutes to go. Instead, it's going right to the 95th, 96th minute, whatever. You've got to be, these are basics. When you break 2 or 3 times in a match with a man advantage, at least one of them's got to go in.
The decision making's poor, mate, and the worst thing is that's not something you can teach. You can work on technique, and you can work on you can drill the players to defend or attack set pieces or whatever. But there are 2 things that you can't teach. One of them is just that knack of being in the right place at the right time, something the likes of Ali and Chris Boyd had down to a T. Another is decision making. You either have got a footballing brain or you haven't. And like I said earlier on about Danny Rule being able to coach the players, that's the one thing that he can't do. And that is another reason why we need so much fresh blood to come and improve that side of our game next month.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's an area where you have to bring it into the side. I don't think you can bring it out of the side, if that makes sense. I don't think you can, it's already inherently within them and you just need to get it out. I don't think that's the case. I think that we will need to bring in a number of players for that in the window. So we move on. Good victory, solid victory. We now have St Mirren. We know are a difficult side, a good recent record at Ibrox, although unfortunately a lot of teams can boast that. But they come on the back of, clearly the League Cup victory. They have a manager who knows what he's doing. They play to their strength. They are tough, they're physical, they're quick in the last third as well. This will be another challenge. I mean, these are not a side to give anybody stuff for free, but more importantly, you mentioned earlier, they will come to Ibrox thinking they can get a result, and Rangers will need to be up for it. And one of my regular complaints here is Rangers need to start a lot better than we do in matches.
We do, mate. Yeah, I mean, their welcome are absolutely buoyed. I've got a pal of mine from Derby. He's old man's from Paisley, and for reasons that only he can really decide, he's a big St Mirren fan. So obviously, I've been following their exploits quite closely, and they are a decent outfit, mate. Obviously, the last time we played them at Ibrox, they won. Which I got mercilessly ribbed for, but there you go. If you give it out, got to be able to take it, haven't you? So they know what it is to come and win at Ibrox. Bear in mind, they've improved since last season and we've gone backwards. So it's going to be another very tight game, another very scrappy game. And if we start against St Mirren, as we did against Motherwell, and they smell blood, then it could well be over by half time. And I don't think I'm exaggerating then.
No, because that's what happened in that victory they had at Ibrox last season. They're 2-0 up. Rangers played very well in the second half and got it back to 2-1, but couldn't go on and do it. And I think it is something within the side that we do allow sides, because what teams do when they come to Ibrox is that they don't really press as particularly. Motherwell was slightly different actually at the weekend, but generally they just allow us the ball in the opening 10 minutes, and it almost lulls us into a sense of false security, because there's no onus on us to go and play big, or certainly it doesn't come from within us to go and play really quickly, and we end up just knocking it about. We end up side to side, not trying the forward passes, and then these teams go right spring, and we're not in the groove at all. And it's like 10, 20 minutes, the crowd get frustrated. It's always a target of teams when they come to Ibrox, get the side turned against them. I don't get it. Multiple managers have had this issue. It's just a very, very irritating facet of being a Rangers supporter, is the amount of first halves that we completely almost waste.
They seem scared, mate. They seem scared of making a mistake because they're worried the crowd will turn on them. Now, that's daft, because they're worried about making a mistake, which leads them to making a mistake, and the opposition come into it, and then the crowd turn on them. If they're trying things creatively and it's not quite coming off, but they're trying, the crowd will be with them. So I don't know why they have that attitude, but that to me is just what it seems to be. So they need to get that out of their heads for a start and try and give us a 90-minute performance. I know it's a lot to ask, but as I say, if we aren't on our game right from the very first whistle on tomorrow night, on Tuesday night, then we'll be out. They will be out of sight by half time. It's happened before. Look at what happened at Hearts. Concede one goal, heads go down, concede another straight away. So they need to get off to a good start. And if they do, the crowd will stay with them.
Was that a character thing?
I'd say so, mate. Yeah, I think it's been obvious for a while that the core of this squad are mental weaklings, and the players that we've added in the summer have done absolutely nothing to change that. So I think it's absolutely character, yeah.
No, it's a very frustrating and long-running thing. It predates Rule, it predates Come On, it predates Barry. You can keep going backwards. The starting a game slowly, and then that builds the frustration in the crowd. The other team go on to it, or sort of feed off that, and suddenly you're up against it, and you're in. And you've let them settle in. You're not taking advantage of any potential nerves that they might have either. And I just think you make your life and your task more difficult. So, right then, Tess, just before we finish up, we are going into this January transfer window. We need players in. We know this. There will be players coming in. I'm hopeful. I think it's very important for Rangers to try and do as much business quickly as is humanly possible. What would you say are your key areas in the side that you're looking? If you're looking at tomorrow and you say, let's say 4, and I'm not saying that they'll bring in 4 or 5 or 6 or 1, I don't know, but say, well, just for argument's sake, 4 players, what positions are you recruiting them into?
A striker is an absolute must, and I think that would be the key position, because if you've got somebody who can score goals, and that makes up for a multitude of sins, doesn't it? At the moment, we haven't got that, and I think if the team know that there is somebody who can convert, maybe, just maybe, it will make them a little bit more willing to try things, knowing there's a guy on the end who can put it away, and then they don't end up looking silly. Secondly, would be a left back. There is absolutely no way that we should have gone into this season with a young Loney as our only senior left back. That was absolute. All the decisions that were made in the summer, for me, that's possibly the worst. There were players we signed and we thought, yep, they could have worked, and we weren't to know. But only going into the season, heaping so much pressure on that kid's shoulders.
He's done all right, incidentally.
He's done all right, yes,
yeah.
but
yeah, no, I know what you mean. I agree.
Never been the case.
Yeah.
I would like us to have a creative midfielder. As I say, I don't think we've got that at the moment. The midfielders we've got, Barron's been doing a job in there, but let's be right, he's a hod carrier. He's one of your bread and butter players. He ain't somebody who's going to light it up with a 60-yard pass to the striker's feet. He'll probably miss it anyway, but he ain't going to give you that. Raskin, for whatever reason, isn't doing that at the moment. Diamonde, as I say, is a waste of a jersey. So a creative midfielder. And then next up, a creative wide man, mate. Gassama's done well in fits and starts. Ant-Man, apart from 45 minutes against Pilsen, he ain't showed up. Robbie Matondo, I don't even know if he exists anymore. So we definitely need somebody to help carry the load in that position. So, yeah, a striker, a left-back, a creative midfielder and a wide man in that order.
And, just before we go, actually, I didn't bring it up earlier because I didn't really think much of it at the time and having seen it. Bit of a confected outrage, I think, over a potential penalty Motherwell should have had. The manager was very insistent on it. At the time, I thought the boy dived. Looking back, there's contact, but I think he initiates the contact. And I don't think that there's a clear angle on the VAR that you can say, yeah, it's definitely wrong. The ref was convinced he's in a good position to watch it. I think on this show, we're quite honest. And if it's a penalty, Livy were denied the Stonewaller at Ibrox. There's just no doubt about that, the handball for Fernandez. But I don't think it was a penalty. And then I was like, what? Well, obviously, everybody focuses on a Rangers decision. But then I saw the penalty Celtic got, and I went, oh, I get it now. It's a squirrel.
I can't remember being that bothered about it at the time. But I sit in the governor here, so unless something's directly in front of me, you're not going to see it. I can't remember being that concerned about it at the time, but again, at the back of your head, you think if this gets given, I wouldn't be surprised because of the way that things seem to go with Rangers and penalties. The Livingston one, yeah, we got away with one there, and as you say, we've all come out and admitted it because it's the correct thing to do. You can't say something isn't when it clearly is. But that one on Saturday, no, mate. I don't see what all the fuss is about. I mean, if Motherwell's manager wants to have a go at somebody, have a go at his strikers for missing gilt-edged opportunities rather than trying to moan about a penalty that never was. I think it's just silly.
Yeah, like I say, if it had been Stonewall, I went, yeah, we got away with one there, but I really didn't think it was, and I haven't seen it since. And I accept, by the way, with my blue-tinted specs on, I'm looking at it one way, but I kind of thought he's initiated the contact. And in terms of VAR, I think it's one of those that if the ref gives it, they don't overturn it. If he doesn't give it, they're not, because I really don't think you can look at that and say that is definitely, I mean, that was basically on Sky. That's what they said. They said, looks like he's initiated contact, the ref's seen it. And you can't say definitively it was wrong. So, I mean, that I'll go with that. That was my take on that one. Right then, folks, thank you very, very much for joining me. Thank you once again for staying with us throughout this horrendous year. There haven't been an awful lot of highlights in terms of Rangers. We hope, of course, hope springs eternal, that 2026 will be better. There will be no doubt some ups and downs, but I can promise you this, we will be here and we will be cataloguing it and we will be discussing it as always. Thank you so much for your support. It does mean the world. Otherwise, this is just me and my mates sitting talking. And while that's fun, I don't necessarily think we would go to the trouble of recording it every week. Tess, thank you for joining me, my man.
An absolute pleasure as always, matey.
And Happy New Year to everyone. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.